Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Inspire Health podcast. And as we continue on our journey with our newest series on living freely and what that means from a perspective of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, what does it mean to live freely? And today we have finally been able to coordinate our schedules with the legendary Bruce Lipton. And we are so happy to have Bruce on the show with us today. And if you're not familiar, you've probably been living under a rock, but otherwise, if not, I'll just introduce Bruce Lipton is an internationally recognized leader in bridging science and spirit, stem cell biologist, best-selling author of The Biology of Belief, and recipient of the 2009 Goey Peace Award. He's been a guest speaker on hundreds of TV shows, radio shows, as well as keynote presenter for national and international conferences. We just recently watched your latest one on Gaia, which was brilliant, and highly recommend people to check that out. And Bruce, welcome to the show and being a part of this amazing series.
I am so happy to be here with you, and I so appreciate the invitation because your audience is really a very outstanding audience because they're cultural creatives. These are the people that are saying there's another way to live on this planet besides the way we're doing it right now. So I want to thank you for this opportunity to talk to them.
I very much appreciate it. We just watched your series just watched the episode that you did with Gaia, and you did this really brilliant job of sort of painting out this timeline of just where we've been, where we currently are, and all the in-betweens that we've gone as far as moving, more into the realm of prioritizing spirit, all the way down to prioritizing materialism. And I think it was a really beautiful presentation just to give people an idea of why we move up and down. And I love the way that you brought it up that, we have to ask these big questions to ourselves, and then the answers depict where civilization is going to go. I'm wondering if maybe you can maybe we'll start, because I've got some questions that come from that, but just for people that haven't seen the Gaia episode, where are we currently in this sort of realm of ups and downs that we've moved from sort of spirit to materialism? Where are we now as far as that process goes?
Well, let people understand this, is that there have been questions asked for 10,000 years. They're called the perennial questions. Same questions, 10,000 years. The questions are, how did we get here? Why are we here? And then how do we make the best of it? The significance of those questions is that the answers provide the culture that follows those answers. In other words, if you believe like the church, then the church says, oh, you're not spirit, but God is spirit and God's somewhere else. And if you're really a good person, you can go visit God up there in heaven or something. And that separated us from spirituality. And then I can say this, that there over the centuries, there's different versions of power. Who holds power? In the very early stages, power was held in the biggest badass guy with the biggest club. You didn't argue with that person. They held the power, okay? And then at some point, power shifted because it turned out that if someone controlled some vital resources and people wanted access to those resources, they would have to pay for those resources. And with the proceeds of all that money, that person who ran the resources actually paid the guy with the club to support him. So the guy with the club became the military at some point. And then the resource guy was like the king. And then at some point, knowledge became power. And all of a sudden, I said, well, then what happened? I said, well, interesting story. The Church of Rome acknowledged that they had absolute power. I go, what do you mean? I say, because they got their knowledge directly from God, and knowledge is power. And that if you want to understand God, then you had to talk to them. And they wielded this power, which then controlled the king, because who do you think kissed the feet of the Pope? The king kissed the feet. So let's put the sequence. The brawny guy becomes the military, the king becomes the resources, and the church becomes the knowledge. And the relevance about that is when the knowledge changes, the civilization changes. And what happened to the church's period, which was called Judeo-Christian monotheism, when the church ran essentially civilization, Charlie Darwin threw a monkey wrench in their game because he made note of the fact that we came through evolution and not through Genesis. And the people started to let go of the Genesis story and gravitate to the science story. So we're in the world of what is called scientific materialism, meaning simply this: where do you get your truth from? In the old days, you go to the church and there was a guy in the black coat and you get your truth from him. In today's world, you go to the science building, the guy in the white coat gives you the truth about today. And so I say, well, then civilization changed, because instead of acknowledging that there was a God and everything up there in the heaven, science just said, hey, this is your life. This is it on the planet. You are a human person. You have all these wonderful sensory apparatus in your body. You live, then you die, and then you go back into chemicals and particles again. And so spirit dropped out ever since Charles Darwin. So people don't go to the church for their knowledge, they go to science. And science is based on materialism, no spirituality. So basically, matter is matter and spirit is irrelevant. And we've been living in a world like that. And it's unfortunate because in today's world, the answers of how we got here, the perennial questions. Number one, how did we get here? Random genetic mutations. I go, okay, why are we here? Oh, well, the point random means they were accidental genetic mutations. So how come we're here? I go, well, it was an accident, in a sense, accident of genetics. So there was no purpose. It was like playing dice. You shook them, you win or you lose. And then why are we here? Well, that led to an understanding that we're here in a competition, that we're here in the struggle for survival with a competition for fitness, so survival of the fittest, which then turns our world game into a culture based on the answers that say, well, what are we doing here? And the answer is get as much as you can while you can. And there's no morality. And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, who can be the fittest? Oh, I got Albert Einstein. Brilliant, right? And I got some jerk with an Uzi. And I say, who's the fittest? I say, well, the Uzi certainly is going to overpower Albert Einstein. All of a sudden, the jerk becomes the winner. I go, there's no morality in this world. And the leadership of this world is in belief of this scientific theory. Now, unfortunately, part of the scientific theory is the population is getting too big. And that the idea of the government, wherever they are, is to keep order and peace. And that is, in one way, is too many people are here. Oh, well, then what? Well, according to the principle, there's famine, and there's disease, and there's war as ways of eliminating the population. So we're fighting in a world where we're seeing the population just hit over 8 billion. Everybody's getting crazy. Oh my God, there's not enough for 8 billion people. Who's going to win? More fighting. And we're seeing the world devolve into a barbarian situation of Darwinian theory, which is, hey, as long no matter how you win, it doesn't make any difference as long as you win. And we're facing a world today. I say, so what's the net result of a hundred some years of Darwinian theory? And I say, the competition has led to 1% of the population owning the wealth, and 99% are they don't see it themselves at it, but they're slaves. I go, why? Their jobs are to support the 1%. And the point about it is they're struggling. 99% of the people are struggling. Why? Because the 1% took the energy out of the world, the money, and they're holding on to it. I go, well, this is completely devastating to the world because the idea of Darwinian theory is 100% wrong. Oh, no shit. Oh, no. Oh, sorry. Darwin is wrong. I go, why? Evolution is not based on competition. Evolution is based on cooperation. I go, oh, man, we've been going the wrong way for 100 years. I go, yeah. And the result of that wrong way is we are on the edge of an evolutionary upheaval right now. We are not sustainable. I go, what do you mean? I say, well, simple math. To support the world today, the way the culture is, just say if we want everything to stay the way today is, it takes 1.6 planet Earths to provide the resources. Well, simple math. There is no extra zero point 0.6 planet Earth to get those resources from. We've been actually destroying the planet, removing the resources and destroying the environment to satisfy our cultural needs. I go, so what's the point? He said, it's not sustainable. I go, so what does that mean? He says, well, you can't keep doing this anymore. And what is most important is the answers to the questions have changed. Well, every time the answers to the question change, civilization follows with a new version. I say, so we're leaving behind the Darwinian idea of accidental mutations and survival of the fittest. I say, why? What? The answers today are different. I said, what do you mean? I said, how did we get here? It wasn't accidental mutations. They were called adaptive mutations. I go, what does that mean? That each organism is adapted to the environment that they live in. So in other words, it's not chance that there are no orchids in Antarctica. There are no polar bears in Africa. I go, why not? Organisms are lockstep with the environment. And all of a sudden it says, then why are we here? It wasn't an accident. We were conforming to an environment. And the significance about that is every organism that evolved on this planet was designed to bring harmony and balance. And before humans were here, we would say, oh, there was a garden. The garden was here. I go, what was that? Oh, the whole web of life was a garden. I go, you know what's interesting? A garden is not a battleground. A garden, by its definition, is the height of cooperation. A garden is the cooperation of everything in the garden. Well, it turns out we are the only ones not cooperating in the garden. And nature is a little upset with this. Why? Because we're undermining the entire web of life. We're polluting the air, the water, the ground. We're removing all the resources from the planet and just the way we live in agriculture, destroying the harmony of the environment. We're not sustainable. NASA scientists have come to the realization that within 20 years, folks, listen, within 20 years, there will be an irreversible collapse of the current civilization. I want to emphasize irreversible because some people think, oh, we're going to go back to the old days. I go, no, the old days were leading up to the problem that we have. We're not going back. We're going to a future. So I say, what's the future? I say, well, the first thing is this. We must learn something. We have to live in harmony, not with just the garden. We have to live in harmony with each other. And the point about that is it's not a competition for survival, it's a cooperation for survival. And what we now have to start recognizing is each of us is a cell in a bigger organism called humanity. And the whole idea about this is that right now, the body of humanity, us, cells, okay, we're in a survival of the fittest world. We're in a non-sustainable world. And that humanity as an organism is flailing. It doesn't work until all humans recognize we're all part of the same organism. So it's sort of like autoimmune disease. And I say, what's that? When the 50 trillion cells that make up your body start fighting with each other, it leads to a destruction of the body, autoimmune disease, which is the biggest issue on the planet. So many people think, oh, disease is due to genetics and bad genes. I go, less than 1% of disease is connected to genetics. Then where the heck is the health crisis coming from? One source. You ready? Stress.
Mhm.
Stress is responsible for over 90% of the illness on this planet. Stress is the consequence of the world that we're living in today. We're not living in harmony, so we're living in a stress situation. Who's going to make it? Who's not going to make it? The U.S. is the empire that's falling. Empires come, empires go. The U.S. is in a dreadful falling right now. It's not sustainable itself. And the healthcare crisis is crazy. Why? A large portion of the population can't even afford to go to an emergency room for a treatment. In other words, more than half of the population cannot get a hold of $400 at this moment. If we said, Can you get $400? Half of the population will say no. I go, and then what? Most of them are living week to week, meaning whatever small paycheck they have, the cost of living exceeds the paycheck. And there's the stress of doing this. Ah, the stress, that's the word. I go, yes, the stress of surviving is causing a destruction of the human biology. The stress that we're facing right now is a stress for survival. It's our lives are threatened, whether it's the whole population is being threatened or whether you're the individual just trying to make it through the week so you can get enough money for next week. Stress. I go, yeah, but how does that affect us? So let me explain that there's a stress protection system. It's called the adrenal system, the adrenal glands, stress hormones. That's where it comes from. I say, what's the function of the stress hormones? Get us ready for fight or flight. Now, in the old days, all you had to worry about was the saber-toothed tiger, okay? And I say, well, what if you were out there eating some berries off the bush in the old days, and a saber-toothed tiger shows up? I say, what do you think your response is? A stress response. To do what? Survive. How do you do that? You run or fight, fight or flight. That was what the adrenal system is called in school, fight or flight. I go, so why is that important? Now, here's the mechanics. There's a mechanism, and it goes like this. To run away from an animal, which part of your body do you need to have energy? Not the gut. That's maintenance and, digestion and filtering and cleaning. No, you want your arms and legs. Why? Those are the ones that are going to get you to run. So I need to get the energy there. I said, well, where's the energy? I said, it's in the blood. I go, oh. So I said, well, what happens if the tiger is coming? Well, most of the blood right now, if you're just, watching this video, most all your blood is in your gut. But that's important. That's for growth. That maintains the body, filters, cleans, repairs the body. That's what the function of the gut organs are. But if the tiger is chasing you, I don't need the gut organs to use all the energy for fixing me. I need to run. So there are three things. So let's do number one. When stress hormones are released into the body, they prepare you for fight or flight. And I say, how? They cause the blood vessels in the gut to squeeze shut. I go, what happens? Well, then it pushes the blood to the arms and legs because that's what you need, the blood to run. So I say, yeah, when you're afraid, guess what? You can feel it. What do you mean? I go, the butterflies in the stomach, the queasiness when fear gets in there. The queasiness is what? Blood vessels squeezing shut, the fluttering, squeezing shut, getting ready for what? Put that blood in the arms and legs because we're going to start running. So here's number one rule. When you're in stress, you stop the growth of the body and the maintenance, growth and maintenance, stop. You put the energy into running away, arms and legs. Okay, so that's protection. So growth, nope, blood vessels shut down, energy now, arms and legs, fight or flight, protection. So we compromise growth. Number two, and this is a very important one for understanding today's crisis in health. And I say, what is it? The immune system is also a protection system, but the immune system protects my inside. The adrenal system protects me from the outside. So I say, well, think about this. If you've ever really been sick, you didn't have the energy to get out of bed. I go, why? Because the immune system, when it's operating, uses a lot of energy. And if you're sick, it uses so much energy that you don't have energy to do much else but lay in the bed. So I go, well, wait a minute. Let's put the scenario together. You have a bacterial infection, could lead to some bad diarrhea, and you're being chased by a saber-toothed tiger. How do you want to split the energy? How much energy you want to put to kill those damn bacteria? And how much energy you want to run away from the tiger? Well, think about it for a second. The answer is this. The hell with the bacteria. If the tiger catches you, you don't got a problem with bacteria. The tiger might have a problem with bacteria, but you don't. So the point is simple. If the threat is from the outside, stress hormones shut off the immune system to conserve energy. It's so effective that when doctors want to transplant an organ from person A to person B, and they don't want the recipient's immune system to reject the foreign organ, they give the recipient stress hormones before the operation. Because when they give them that, the immune system is not going to reject the foreign tissue right away. Okay? So stress hormones shut off the immune system. Okay? And then the one that is critical in a sense of sociological, cultural understanding is when you're in a state of fight or flight, conscious thinking is very slow. It's a slow process. You can't afford to have slow process when you're running. So guess what? The stress hormones also squeeze the blood vessels in the forebrain shut. Why? Well, that was energizing your consciousness. I go, yeah, but it's squeezed shut. And I go, why? Because it pushes the blood to the hindbrain. Reaction, reflex, no thinking, boom, rapid response. So I go, wow, okay, you stop growth, you get into protection. You shut off the immune system and you shut off your intelligence. I go, these are the consequences of stress. Now I go, well, why would nature make something that was so damaging? I go, no, nature only designed the system to run away from the tiger. I go, why was that relevant? Well, stress was 10 minutes if you made it. If you got away from the tiger 10 minutes later, no more stress. Come back to growth again. So stress was just used for short little intervals when necessary. Today, stress is 24/7, 365. You live with stress every day. You don't know if you're going to have money, if you're going to have health, if you're going to have food, if you can support where you live. Every stress is coming in right now, like survival stress. So I go, so what? We were never designed to be in chronic stress. That is antagonistic to the physiology because stress shuts down growth and maintenance of the body. Stress shuts down the immune system. Well, where do you think the health crisis came from? Those two things. And I go, so what does it mean to live free? I say, can you get out of the stress? Can I? Well, yes, you can, because you're being programmed to be stressed. Watch the news. Tell me about all the good stories of the wonderful things that are happening on this planet. And if they do, it's the last minute of the news. And the rest of it was all the war, the violence, the poverty, this crisis, this, that, that. And you sit there and you watch that or you read about it. Does that make you go, yes, I'd love to be alive? No, that gets you into, oh my God, the world is stressful. I go, yeah, it is, but you paid attention to it. And I go, I learned something, and it just came back to me after years of basically what was the point? It was called the Serenity Prayer. I go, what was that? I said, well, change the things you can change, and don't put your effort into things you can't change. What's the point? If you can change something, then you have an influence and some power in doing it. But if you can't change something and you put your energy into it, you're throwing it away. I go, well, why is that important? Okay, overriding thing. Jason and Taya know this. It's the whole programs have been on this, and the basic thing is knowledge is power. If you don't have knowledge, you're disempowered. And when you have a lack of knowledge or a misunderstanding of knowledge, you become disempowered. Well, let's start with something that people have been disempowered with for the last 100 years. And I go, what is it? Oh, genes control my life. I said, genes, what are they? Oh, they're in the cell. They control the characteristics of biology. I go, they control? What does that mean? Well, yes, genes turn on and off. I go, okay, clear the deck. False, 100% false. No, genes do not turn on and off. Genes are blueprints to make the proteins, which are the building blocks of the body. It's the instructions to make a body. It's not instructions on how to use the body. There's instructions to make the body. I go, so why is that important? Genes are blueprints. I always give the same story. I say, go into an architect's office and she's working on a blueprint. You ask her, hey, is your blueprint on or off? And she was looking at me, what are you crazy? It's a blueprint. There's no on and off. Aha! That's the point. It's the architect that controls the blueprint. I go, oh, well, my genes are blueprints. Who's the architect? You ready for this? The mind. The mind controls the expression of the genes. Change your mind, and you can change genetic activity. If your mind is not living in harmony, then your body is in disharmony. Disharmony is disease. Health is harmony, but we're living in disharmony. I go, yeah, but that's why we have a healthcare crisis. Why? Because we're genetically faulty? Hell no. You control these genes. Oh no, I thought the genes turn on and no, no. Simple picture. What is controlling the expression of the genes? Just simple. You ready? Whatever picture you have in your mind about life, that picture is translated into neurochemicals that control the biology of the genes. The thoughts are translated into chemistry, which through a new process called epigenetics, not a new process in the world, new process for our understanding, epigenetics, the chemistry of the picture is controlling the genetic activity to match the picture. If you have a picture of disease, then the chemistry that comes out of the brain is an image of disease, which will then adjust the body to what? Make the disease. I'll give a simple example because there's not, ready for this? This is a good one, right? There's not one gene that causes cancer. There's no such thing as a gene. You have this gene, you get cancer. I go, well wait, we talk about cancer genes. I go, they're associated with the cancer, but they do not cause the cancer. So in other words, 50% of the women with the breast cancer gene get breast cancer. Yeah, but what about the 50% of the women with the breast cancer gene that don't get the breast cancer? We don't talk about them. I go, well, it's time to do. I say, why are they immune to the influence of the cancer gene? And the answer is because the gene didn't make cancer. It's stress that makes cancer. 90% of cancer has no genetic linkage, meaning it shows up in people where there's no cancer in the family in the first place. I said, where the hell did the cancer gene come from? No, there is no cancer gene. It's disharmony. And disharmony means you are altering the natural behavior of the biology and taking it out of harmony, which is health. And it leads to disease. So basically, 90% of illness on this planet has nothing to do with genetics. Less than 1% of disease, less than 1% of disease is connected to genetics and heredity. So where's the disease coming from? Programming. Programming? Yeah. I go, what do you mean? Well, genes are programs, yeah. But who's the programmer? Oh, whatever picture I hold in my mind, the chemistry that's released is complementary to the picture. So in other words, I have a picture of love. I go, so what kind of chemistry comes out? Oh, come on, you know. Dopamine, pleasure. Yeah, that's why you fall in love. Pleasure. Oxytocin. Yeah, that comes from love because that bonds you to your lover. What else? Vasopressin, a hormone makes you more attractive so that your lover stays there longer. And growth hormone. What do you think that does? Well, growth. So basically, it says when you're in love, you get pleasure, you're bonding, you feel better, you're healthier, your biology is in a state of growth. And that's why when people are in love, they glow. Oh, see how healthy they are when they're in love. Health is not an accident. Health is a consequence of the chemistry of love. I say, yeah, but what if you're living in fear? I go, oh, fear picture. That none of the love chemistry, no love chemistry, fear picture, stress hormones, and factors that influence the immune system to put us in a state of protection. So I say, oh, so the chemistry of fear shuts down the growth, gets us into stress, get ready for fight or flight. I go, it's a different chemistry than love. So I say, what? So what's the difference? I say, what is the thought process. What are you thinking? And all of a sudden you start to realize you've been programmed to live in fear. I say, why? Because when you live in fear, you have no power. When you live in fear, your consciousness is shut down and all you want is a reflex. Somebody kill that scary thing. I go, oh, who's that somebody? Whoever you give power to. When you are afraid, that means you feel powerless. And when you feel powerless, then you will engage someone you believe carries the power and support them because you're afraid. Let them hit the bad guy. And the point about all that is I say, so where are we in the situation? We're in a situation that the planet is undergoing an evolution. Why? Because we're simply not sustainable. There's no extra 0.6 to provide the resources, which means you can't keep living the way we are living on this planet. We're destroying the garden under our feet. And all of a sudden I say, yeah, but if there's disharmony, then there's disease. And I go, yeah, well, that's why we have a healthcare crisis, okay? And I go, and the answers to the questions are no longer the same. Survival of the fittest competition? Hell no. It's survival of the most cooperative. It's those that learn to live in harmony, that live in harmony with the others and with nature. That's where health is to be found. Are you living in harmony? Probably not. You're living in some world-generated fear, which takes away your power. You know, it's interesting. COVID, and I want to say it because that's who I am. I just say it. Uh, no one understood the significance of the COVID situation. Number one is this. Everyone was afraid that we're going to die of COVID. I say, who died of COVID? You ready? People who were already compromised in their health. Healthy people, when they started doing testing, the number of healthy people that had COVID didn't even know they had COVID because when they were healthy, the immune system handled it. But the people who were sick with COVID, by definition, were already compromised. 70% were super obese. Another 70% were diabetic type 2. Another large percentage already had heart disease. And there was a number of level of stress people. I say, those are the people that got sick. So let's stand back and say, what about the COVID? And I say, the COVID is like the wolf. I go, why? We always think the wolf just attacks anything. I go, no, wolves never just attack anything. There's a herd. The wolf looks for the weakest element because why? It wants to eat. It doesn't want to have a race with the strongest one. It wants to win food. Who do you get? The weakest one. So guess what? Wolves cull the herd of the weakest individuals so the herd stays strong. Well, COVID was a wolf. It didn't affect the people who were healthy. It affected the people who were already sick. Instead of saying, oh, hey, get the vaccine, why didn't they say, why don't you get healthy? Why don't you take care of your health? Why don't you exercise? Why don't you stop eating the garbage that you're eating that they're selling you? Because you're under control and you don't know that, but they scare you. And the moment you're in fear, the stress hormones put you in a state of fight or flight, and that shut down the rest of the system. And a little sidebar. No, the virus was not lethal. The virus was definitely affecting compromised people. Okay. So let's get the idea out that the virus kills everybody. No, it only affects those that were already weak. Okay. But then I said, there was something you didn't even know what was going on. I go, what was it? We, Jason, Taya, myself, you, we only have power in a community. I go, so what? You didn't pay any attention. In the COVID crisis, there was no more community. The entire world, no community. Well, except for Sweden, who didn't give a damn about the story. But the rest of them did what? Put your mask on, separate, don't talk to each other, keep away from each other. I guess what? It was a complete world where people had no power. It was the power of a handful of people who I trust not that ran this show. And they scared you, they made you powerless, and you gave up your power. I'll put the mask on. No, I know my mother's dying in the nursing home, but I can't see her. I go, what the hell? You didn't see it, did you? You had no power as a human population. You gave it up. Fear. And the idea is why? Because the leadership of this world knows it's collapsing. They know civilization is failing. They know the economy is dead, that the money is useless. Why? It changes value every day. Then how can that be stable? I said, it's not stable. Today the value is this. Tomorrow the value is that. Then where's the stability? You know what? Nature has an economy. It has what is called the coin of the realm. Oh, you mean there's a molecule like money? Yeah, it's called ATP. It's an energy molecule. Money is energy. ATP is energy. I go, so what's so significant about this? And the answer is in the body, energy is distributed in a completely different way than the money is distributed in this world. And yet the energy in the body is the same as the money in this world. And I go, so significance is this. Let's go back 1 billion years and let's say there's a step in digestion, which is a process that requires energy. And I say, okay, how much did it cost energy, ATP, to do this step? I say 50 ATP molecules. Cool. Well, that was 1 billion years ago. Today, how much ATP does it take to cause that same response? The answer is 50 ATP molecules. Well, what's the point? The value of energy never changed. It's the same energy unit, 1 billion years. The value of your paper money is changing. Go look at the stock market today. Go check it out. It's going to be different than it was yesterday. The point is this: be prepared. Look, what do you mean? We're facing an evolutionary upheaval. Why? We're not sustainable. To sustain ourselves, we have to let go of the way we have been living on this planet and to learn to live in harmony with nature and ourselves. And Dr. Jason and Taya have been trying to give you this message for a long time but now we're facing it. And NASA scientists say within 20 years, that irreversible collapse is going to happen. Are you prepared? Are you prepared? For what? The thing falling apart. I go, no, well, then you should. Why? Because it's falling apart. It's happening right now in front of your face. It's chaos all over the world. And everyone's looking at economic, social chaos, political chaos, racial, religious, gender chaos. I go, you're missing the point. Those are the consequences of the bigger chaos. And I say, what's that? We're not sustainable. Human civilization is destroying itself by destroying the environment because we have some belief that we have dominion over this world. Well, how's that working out? We're destroying it with our dominion because we don't know who we are. And the new biology says we are nature. Why? We came from nature. We were made in the image of nature. And that if we destroy nature, we destroy ourselves. And the idea is, oh, well, let's get a rocket ship and take people to the other place. I said, that's not going to happen. Let's be realistic, folks. And you say, well, the earth is dying. I said, the earth is not dying. We're dying. The earth is going to be here. And every place where humans are not allowed, the earth has recovered. You know, Chernobyl has a zone of exclusion, meaning what? In the area around Chernobyl, there was so much radioactivity that they said people can't live there. It's too radioactive, so no people can go. Today, guess what? The place is returned to a forest. Buildings that were in the city have trees growing out the windows, on the roof, all over the place. The whole thing is a forest. And guess what? There's more wildlife in Chernobyl than anywhere else in the former Soviet Union. Why? People can't go there. There are places like in New Zealand where the sea was being overfished, and they said, nope, no fishing in this area. And they carved out a large area and they say, no fishing in this area. Go in that area, guess what? The fish have returned to the way they used to be. But not just outside the area, the fish are gone because they took them all. The point is, when do we learn to live in harmony? And I'm so honored to be here because Jason and Tay have dedicated their lives to help you get various insights of how you can apply knowledge. Knowledge is power. Ooh, let me just say the same thing differently. You ready? A lack of knowledge is a lack of power. What you don't know will kill you. And this is why it's a wake-up call. And I'm honored to be here with this wonderful couple because they're allowing me to tell you, hey, wake up! Wake up! We're going to extinct. Yes, if we do not change, human civilization is on a downhill run. Kiss it goodbye. And the idea is the earth is still going to be here. And it's going to grow back. And it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be a garden. Oh, yeah, that's what we came into. Oh, yeah, that's the thing we destroyed. Oh, yeah, but we won't be here. So what can we do about it? The answer is this. Free yourself from the story. Get out of the lack story. Get out of the competition story. Start to build a life based on cooperation. Start to recognize that it's love is what holds everything together, including all the cells in your 50 trillion cell body. That we have to learn to come back to an ancient understanding. Who are we? We are the garden. And nature now perceives us as we're the virus in the garden. And nature is saying, hey, let's get rid of the virus and put the garden back. Well, it's in process. And yet the other idea is this. What if you return to recognizing what the Native Americans and the North American Indians, First Nation people, and the indigenous people, they said it was a garden. And what was their job? Gardeners. They were gardeners. And they lived in harmony with nature. They were the most welcome people by Mother Nature because they understood the power of the garden and they honored it and they lived that way until the Europeans came and then decimated the garden. Hey, buffalo skins are good. Let's kill all the buffalo. And they did. And they left all the bodies and they took the skin off. And there were bodies of thousands of buffaloes. And the Native Americans look at them and go, who are these people? What are they doing? And they, oh, the redwood trees in California, 3,000 years old. Hey, let's cut those suckers down. They decimated the redwood forest. The beaver in Canada. Oh, we make beaver hats. What are you going to do? You got to kill all the beaver and say, where's the harmony?
Bruce, I mean, so much to unpack on all of that. I think that was, and I completely agree with you on all of that. A question I can hear people coming up with, and because I've heard this, and I mean, I know lots of people that want to live that way, and in many ways do live that way as much as they can. They really do appreciate nature. They want to tend the garden. The question that I find comes up a lot of time, and this ties back with this place of power, that people say, well, what is little old me going to do? Because like you had mentioned, there is a very powerful group that likes to run things the way that it runs. And then there's consequences in a lot of ways. I mean, what we're experiencing right now is even more and more outward consequences, trying to keep people really in a specific way of living. And personally, what I feel like it's causing so much friction for people that they're eventually just either going to like, I can't do that anymore, or and this probably ties back with almost like you adapt, or you're going to not adapt and you're going to fall away. I feel like this is kind of where we're at right at the moment,
Right.
because there is a lot of very real external pressure pushing people into a specific way. So I know people say, well, what is little old me going to do when there's all of this stuff pushing? So what would you say to those people?
You, Buckminster Fuller, futurist, came up with the answer. He says, you don't go into the system and change it. You step outside and build a new system. And the
Yeah.
idea is why? Energy is life. Then I say, look at the energy of the system and look at your energy. And you're going to say, I'm going to push my energy and change that big energy. I say, you're going to lose all your energy. You can't fight the system. It's bigger than you are. So the idea is, well, then how can I use my energy more constructively? I say, start to recognize what is the nature of life, community, whether it's a community of humans with each other or a human in the community of nature, it's all based on community. If you're not supporting the community, then you're not really living in harmony with what's going on here. It's a garden. Everybody plays a role in this garden. And the significance is really profound because it says, are you using your energy to save your life, or are you just trying to wall off the outside? I go, walling off the outside is, well, it's necessary at some point, but the only way you can do it better is step outside of and come over here. Understand making community is your lifeline in this world. If you're not in a community, then the most important effort is find one, get into it, participate with each other. When I was younger, and before you guys were born, we had our issue, and it was like, before you go out and save the world, take care of your own backyard. Well, this is the point. I don't have enough energy to save the world, but I do have enough energy to take care of myself in my backyard, make sure my backyard is in harmony with everything around me, with the other people and the garden, and I focus on my backyard. I don't want you to focus on changing the big one because your energy will be consumed at that point. And when it's consumed, energy is life. No energy, no life is basically what the whole idea is all about. So basically, what we really want to come into is to come back into harmony. I say, well, how do you do that? Well, say, well, first of all, there's two populations you have to deal with. I go, which ones? I go, 50 trillion cells in your body. They're a community. The cells work together to give you health. I said, well, what controls them? I said, not the genes. It's the mind. The mind is a government. And the cells respond to the action of the mind because the mind government is turned into chemistry, which then adjusts the community. And all of a sudden I say, are you living in health? The answer is no. Most people are not even near living in health. Why? Well, we're programmed to eat garbage. Industrial farm food has no nutritional basis to it. It fills you up. Oh, I'm happy. My stomach is full. I say, and when you digested that stuff, did you get anything out of it that was useful? I go, no, you probably got more toxic stuff than you got healthful stuff from this food. So I say, first thing is, well, then start to recognize you want to eat healthy food, which is what? Organic, biodynamic, natural food stores. Okay. This is important because you are the government of 50 trillion sentient cells. Cells have an intelligence. I always love it because humans say, oh, well, we're really intelligent and less than human. A dog, it's got some intelligence, but it's not that much. And I say, a snail. Oh, a snail, what kind of intelligence? A cell. Oh. Point, ready? Cells created us. I would give them a little credit. It's the cell community that a human body is expressing. And if you don't understand the nature of community on the outside, then you're sure as heck not understanding the nature of community on the inside, because that's where health comes from. Jason ND, now DO, but the ND stuff was really cool because naturopaths look at nature and biology as a connection with each other. And if you're living in harmony with the world, then you're going to have harmony in here. If you're living in disharmony, you're not creating harmony in here. And we need to gather our health. We have a healthcare crisis, unbelievable. I go, why? Well, they're putting all their money into looking for the genes, the gene that does this, the gene that does that. I go, big false story. Genes do not control. It's the consciousness that adjusts the readout of the gene. A gene is a blueprint to make a protein, which is a building block of the body. I go, well, there are healthy genes. And then I say there are unhealthy genes. I go, well, wait, are the genes the cause of the problem or your perception? Because that's what's going to activate the genes. Perception. So I'll give an example. Yep, there's no gene that causes cancer. I go, well, where's cancer come from? Ready? They studied what happened to children, babies adopted into families where there's cancer running in the family lineage. Ready? The adopted babies get the same family cancer. But they came from totally different genetics. I go, it wasn't the genes, it was the programming. You have been programmed. The movie The Matrix, not science fiction, my friends. It's actually a documentary. I go, what do you mean? The premise is everybody's been programmed. I go, well, that's true. I go, why? The brain is a computer. It is the most absolutely powerful computer humans have ever experienced in the universe. Okay. I go, so why is this important? Well, it's a computer and has the same functions as any computer. I say, in the old days, you get a brand new computer, you bring it home, you plug it in, you push start, the screen lights up. We say, the screen is booted up. Computer's booted up. They say, okay, do something. Got a new computer. No, I can't do anything. What do you mean you got a brand new computer? No. First, you have to put programs in. Then you can use the computer. Guess what? The child's brain, the screen boots up in the last trimester of pregnancy. It's ready, but there are no programs. So for the first 7 years of your life, your brain is not operating at conscious creativity. It's operating at a lower vibration. And I talk about vibration because you can put wires on a person's head and the electrical activity of the brain comes in different vibrations. Consciousness is a higher vibration. For the first 7 years, you're not even in conscious vibration as predominant. You're in a lower vibration. I go, what? Well, consciousness, calm consciousness, alpha, schoolroom consciousness, beta, high performance, gamma. Yeah, but where's a child for 7 years? Not even in alpha, lower. It's called theta. I say, what's theta? Well, theta is characterized as imagination. Okay, yeah, that's why kids live in the real and the imaginary world simultaneously. The famous tea party. Let's pour nothing into the cup. Let's drink nothing. That was the best tea I ever had in my life. Okay? Imagination. Are you ready? Theta is hypnosis. I go, so why is that relevant? First question, how many rules do you need to know to be a member of a family? How many rules do you need to know to be a member of a community? My God, thousands of rules. Your behavior has to conform. Well, how do I know what the rules are? The child, the infant, can't go to school, read a book, take lessons. No. So I said, then how did you get programmed? The answer is nature did it. Why what? Theta. What? Hypnosis. Watch other people. See how they behave and download it. So for the first 7 years, you were downloading programs of behavior. Where'd you get them from? Other people. I go, and what's the point? Well, if they had a problem in their life, you downloaded their problem. That's why diseases run in family, because whoever the parents are, they had the problem and they passed the problem on to the offspring during the programming. They didn't pass the genes on as much as they passed the programming on. So the idea is then you were programmed for 7 years. I said, but the programs came from other people. Did they answer your wishes and your desires and what you want in your life? Or did they have issues that you downloaded and copied and screwed up your life? Because part two of the story is when the conscious brain kicks in, that's creative. Okay? But guess what? The conscious brain is not only creative, it can look out your eyes like the windshield of the vehicle and drive you to your wishes and desires. Conscious mind, wishes, desires, let's go there. But the conscious mind can think. What the hell does that mean? Thinking is not looking out. Thinking is looking in. So I say, so what does that mean? I say, when you're in thought, you're not paying attention to the world. A thought is in the inside. Jason, today is Tuesday. Tell me what you're doing on Thursday. It's probably not written in front of him at this moment, but give him a minute and he'll say, oh, on Thursday, and he's going to tell me. I said, where did he get the answer? He went inside. I said, but what happened when he went inside? He stopped looking out. I go, what if we were in the car? And I say, Jason, what are you doing on Thursday? He's not going to be looking out the windshield. He's going to be looking inside for an answer. Oh my God, Jason's not looking out the window and he's driving the car. I go, here's the cool part. The subconscious is autopilot. It knows how to drive the car. That's a learned program. It's a habit. It learns how to walk, learns how to talk. These are habits. Subconscious mind habits. So if Jason's thinking about what he's doing on Thursday, he's not looking out the window. So the subconscious steps in, autopilot, and drives the car. I go, what was the point? We think 95% of the day. I go, so wait a minute. If we're thinking 95% of the day, we're not paying attention to what's going outside 95% of the day. I go, yeah, that's a problem. I go, and then what? But you're still living in it. I go, yeah, because your subconscious knows how to do the job and knows how to walk and knows how to talk and knows how to drive the car. So I say, oh, problem. You're only controlling the life you desire 5% of the time. 95% of the time, your life is controlled by the programs that you downloaded in the first 7 years. And you say, yeah, but if they were bad programs, I would see it. I said, no, you see, you didn't get it. When you're thinking, you're not seeing. When you're thinking, you're inside. So whatever behavior is coming out when you're thinking, you're the only one that can't see it because everybody else is responding to you. And you are deep inside in thought, and some program is playing. My father and mother had a dysfunctional relationship. I'm the boy in the family. I watch my fathers learn how to behave. What did I learn? Dysfunctional relationship behavior. What was the point? Almost 50 years, I couldn't find a relationship. Why? Because the moment I got in a relationship and I started thinking, then my father's behavior is what showed up. Did I see it? No. Did my partner see it? Yeah. My partner goes, who are you? What kind of behavior is that? And I'm going, what are you talking about? Why? I didn't see my own behavior. And the point about it is what? Your life is not run by you except 5%. 95% is your program. You're going to repeat what you downloaded. This is how come kids grow up carrying the same kind of behavior as the parent, because that's what they downloaded. The issue is, but we're all Bill in this case who says, hey, I'm not like my father. If you say, Bill, you're like your father, he goes, no, I'm not. And everybody else can see that Bill has the behavior of his father. Who doesn't see it? Bill. Why not? Because when Bill's playing his father's program he downloaded, he's playing it because he's not paying attention. Uh-oh. We are all Bill. Every one of us, every day, 95% of our life is not coming from wishes and desires, conscious mind. 95% of your life is coming from the program that you downloaded from other people. And if they had a dysfunction, welcome to their dysfunction. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
This brings, we put out to our audience to submit any questions they might have for you during our interview today. So this actually is a good time to bring on Zanetta's question, which is, what is the quickest and most effective way to change beliefs?
Okay. There are only 3 ways to change beliefs. 2 of them, the first natural way, and the other one is something new. So let me just explain the 2 first ones very quickly. First 7 years you're in your life, you're in a state of hypnosis. You want to change the belief, go back into hypnosis. I go, how do you do that? I say, well, every night when you go to bed, as you start to go to sleep, the functioning of the brain that was high, consciousness, at the moment you fall asleep, consciousness shuts off. But the next vibration as it goes towards sleep is theta. That was the hypnosis version. So I say, so what? Put earbuds or earphones on, play a program you want to be true. Just as you're going to bed, put the earphones on, start the program. You'll hear some of the program while you're still awake, but the moment you fall asleep, consciousness is shut off, theta hypnosis is on, and you can download new programs. But it's only on for a short period of time, so you have to repeat the process a lot. But it's called self-hypnosis, so that's number one. Number two, what else? After age 7, you're not in hypnosis, but you learn how to drive a car, play an instrument, you learned a job. I go, well, how'd you do that? I say, practice. You created a new behavior through habituation. You practiced. You want to change your life? Then practice a different life. You know, I love it. The new agey thing goes, fake it till you make it. I go, what the hell does that mean? I go, well, let's say you're not a happy person. You want to be happy. Then guess what? All day long to yourself, as many times as you can, you say, I am happy. I am happy. All day long. You are a miserable son of a gun, but you say all day long, I am happy. I am happy. That results in habituation. One day you wake up and you don't have to say I'm happy because habit has downloaded the belief I am happy, and you wake up happy. Repetition, habituation. But the third one is the newest and most exciting thing in helping us evolve, and it's called energy psychology. Energy psychology engages something like super learning. I go, what's super learning? I go, well, a child is a super learner. Why? They can experience something just one time, and then the rest of their life they have the knowledge of that. Just only had to hear it once. Boom, got it. I said, well, how does a child learn so fast? Because it's in a state of super learning. I go, so what does that mean? Quick, there's a line down the middle of the brain, and we call each half a hemisphere. And the two hemispheres have different functions. Basically, the left hemisphere is intellectual. The right hemisphere is emotional. So when you're under age 7, both hemispheres are working together. Every life experience you had under age 7 had an intellectual component and an emotional component to it. Okay? After age 7, they're still physically connected, but not functionally connected. After age 7, you're not in whole brain. You're in an ultra radiant repetition, meaning what? First, you're in the left side, intellectual, for a few hours. Then a few hours later, you're in the emotional side. Then a few hours later, you're back in the intellectual. Then it's a cycle. You're not in both halves, emotional and intellectual, at the same time after age 7. So sometime during the day, you respond more emotionally to something, and sometime in the same day, you were more intellectual about your response. I go, yeah, but that's not whole brain. I go, no. If you want to do whole brain, you can engage whole brain, and guess what? Then you can be like the 7-year-old or 6-year-old or the 5-year-old. You can change that belief system in minutes with super learning. There is a process that engages super learning. I go, what is it? Well, my right arm, right hand in this case, is controlled by my left brain. The right side of the body is controlled by the left side brain. The left side of the body is controlled by the right side. So, okay, so I'm moving my right hand, which is controlled by this side right here. But watch. Oh, I moved it across the middle. Guess what? Now out here, it's also picked up by this side. Oh, so if I cross my arms or my ankles, then what am I doing? I'm causing both parts of the brain to integrate at the same time. It has a very calming effect. Think about this. Most people, when they're sitting down relaxing, cross their ankles. It's unconscious. Why'd you cross your ankles? Because it made you feel calm. You didn't even know that. If you're stressed out, cross your ankles, cross your arms like this, and just sit like this. In a couple of minutes, you're going to calm down. Why? Because that integrates right and left brain. It's a calm, but it's a super learning state. And I say, when I'm in that super learning state, I can repeat to myself a belief I want to be true. And that belief will be taken up by both the intellectual and the emotional side. And it will cancel any previously learned belief, the emotion of that belief. Because it's the emotion that is the energy of action, emote, energy, okay? The intellectual side will always remember, yeah, that happened to me. But the emotional side, which at one point was like, ah, if I change it, I still remember that I had a problem, but I don't have an emotional charge anymore. Aha. So by taking the emotional charge off of something, you can put in a different emotion to replace that. This is called energy psychology. Just for those that are interested, my website, simple, brucelipton.com. Under belief change modifications, I have about 25 or 30 different modalities of energy psychology, that little paragraph to describe it and a website to connect to it. I used one of them, and my whole life has changed ever since, and it was called Psych K, and I have a whole new life after doing Psych K. How long did it take? 15 minutes. What? 15 minutes, I got rid of that bad programming about relationships. Then what? I was open to meet my partner, Margaret. We are 28 years into a honeymoon. Every day is to wake up and be in love with the planet and be in love with each other. And I go, why? Because I got rid of my father's programming of what relationships were about and put in the one with harmony in it. I was able to write a book where my subconscious didn't want me to write the book because it threatened my status as a research scientist, because I was going to write about spirituality, and you're not allowed to do that in the biological world. So my subconscious kept sabotaging my writing because it said, if you write this book, you're going to lose your, factor of being an intellectual monkey or something, It's like, don't write the book. So 15 minutes after a psyche process, the book was ready to come out. It came out a few months after that. Why? I struggled for years to write the book, and after I changed the belief system that was preventing me from sabotaging my career, that's what the belief thought, changed that belief, and the book came out. It's like, so I said, what? I'm not living under the constraints of the outside world. I have stepped outside of that. Am I doing okay? I'm doing a hell of a lot better than my colleagues who stayed in the medical school. They're dying, and I'm still having a great life out here, for 80 years old. It's like, hey, life is great. Okay. Why is that? I am free of the program that made me a slave to the program. They can play all the program they want. I don't give a damn. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And the idea about it is, most people who are forced to leave their jobs because of COVID started to look for jobs where they actually like doing something. And guess what? Now they're healthy and they're happy, and they're doing what they wanted to do outside of the system that said, you do this. They wanted to do that. And now they are. And guess what? They're part of this new community I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They're the part that have stepped out of the system and say, screw the system. I can take care of myself better. I will be prepared. I know it's falling apart. I'm not going to be left like a crazy person when it all falls down standing around. I'm going to be secure. Yeah. How? How much food do you have put away in your house right now? That's a small question. Major. I say, why? Because if there's a problem in the world, tornadoes or hurricanes and all that kind of stuff, do you know that the food markets are empty within 2 hours? I go, what do you mean? People rush and grab all they can. Why? Because you don't know when the food's coming back to that store. So I go, oh. So I said, well, then guess what? I don't rush. I already got a few months worth of food stored in my house. Why? Do you have a first aid kit? Yeah. Why do you have it? In case there's an accident. Why do I have a food storage? In case there's a problem. I'm not going to be running on the street looking, where can I get a piece of bread? Do you have that food storage? Well, consider this. The crises that we've been facing in the last few years have emptied supermarkets within a couple of hours. That's just an idea. I don't need it if I don't need it. I have the first aid kit. I hope I don't need it. But if I do need it, thank God I have it. I have food. I hope I don't need it, but if I do, I've got it. And the idea is prepare yourself for dysfunction in the system. It's already dysfunctional. It's just going to get worse. And you have power. Why? Well, if you don't get caught in the story, you can get caught in what can I do to take care of myself? And this is the most important part. And I keep talking and I should be quiet because Jason and Taya, they got something to probably say.
That's very practical and sound advice. Thank you so much for that. There was one more question, if you don't mind,
Yes.
that came in from our community, from MJ Chatty. How to tap into the soul for healing of the physical body?
Okay. Well, the idea is this. First of all, there is a soul. No. Yeah, as a scientist, as a biologist, most of my career, I never believed in any of that because we were trained as scientists. It's genes and proteins and polysaccharides, and they come together and they make a cell, and then the cell lives and the cell dies, and all the chemicals go away. Well, guess what? No two people are the same. I go, yeah, I know that. I say, no, biologically. I go, what do you mean? You cannot take your cells and organs and put it into another person. Because if you do, their immune system is going to say not self. And then the immune system will eliminate it. So I said, wait a minute. If you put your cells in my body, my immune system will look at your cells, say not self, and then eliminate them. Or use in somebody else's, same thing. I go then, but the immune system sees physical things. That's what it does. Viruses, bacteria, parasites. I say, well, then what is the immune system seeing when it says self, not self? You ready? On the surface of your cells, and it's important, it's on the outer surface, there are proteins, which are like antennas that stick up from the surface. They're actually called receptors. Oh, what are receptors? Receivers. I go, what are the receptors called? Self receptors. Now, conventional biology only looked at them because they said, if I want to transplant an organ from person A to person B, is there a way to reduce the rejection response? I go, yes. If the person you're donating the organ to can overlap with some of these antennas, no two people have the same set. But if the donor and the recipient have a little overlap, then there's less of an aggression in the immune system. So that's why they do tissue typing before they have a heart. They don't just say, oh, you come over here, let's put a heart in. No. Who is the potential recipient of that heart that has shared self-receptors with the other person so that less rejection? So I go, yeah, that's true. That's what it's used for. But I go, but they're called receptors. I go, and where are they outside? And I say, no two people have the same set, like a set of, like a combination lock, a set of receptors. No two people have the same. I go, what if I take those receptors and cut them off? Then the cell has no personal identity. It's a liver cell, but it's not Bruce's or Jason's liver cell. It's just liver cell. What if I took Taya's liver cells, the receptors on her cells, her self receptors, and then put it on mine? I remove my receptors. Now I put hers on mine. That cell is no longer mine, because if I put that cell back in my body, my immune system will say not self. But if I put my cell with her receptors back into her body, her immune system goes, yeah, that's us, and keep it. I transferred ownership. Yeah, but ownership of what? Through the receptors. Yeah, but what are the receptors? Receivers of what? A signal. Where's the signal? It's the energy fields, a field of energy. This is quantum physics. I go, so what? Well, what's field? Definition: invisible moving forces that influence the physical world. Field. What's the definition of spirit? Invisible moving forces that influence the physical world. Oh my God. Quantum physics has now recognized that we are spiritual entities receiving a broadcast through our receptors, and that this broadcast then comes into our system, and then we get to control this virtual reality suit that gives us the ability to create, and to experience. I go, oh, wait, what does this mean? Ready? You've been programmed to believe that if you have a good life and you die, you can go to heaven. I want to change that for a second. You ready? You were born into heaven. I go, what do you mean? This is the place of creation. You are a creator. And then you look around and go, I wouldn't create this mess. I go, yeah, because 95% of your life is coming from the program you downloaded from other people. You're creating their expression. And the idea is what? First of all, let's get to the most important point. You are the broadcast. The body is a virtual reality suit. I go, so why is this important? Because I give the analogy and it's straightforward. You ready? The body is a television set, and you're seeing right now the Bruce Show. What? The Bruce Show is picked up by my antennas, self receptors, and playing through here. Hey, I'm the Bruce Show on this television. I go, why is it important? Because if you're watching a TV and the TV breaks, we say, what? TV's dead. Yeah, that's true. You ready? When the TV broke, did the broadcast die? No, broadcast is still there. I go, so what? I said, well, get another TV, plug it in, tune it back to the same station, and you're on again, but in a different TV. I go, the body is the TV. We are the broadcast. And the significance about that is then if you die, the TV breaks, but the broadcast is still there. And I say, then what? Well, what if an embryo shows up with the same set of self-receptors? Well, then you're back in a different TV. I say, does it make a difference if the TV's male or female? I go, no, that's the TV. That's not who you are. Does it make a difference if the TV's white, brown, black, red, yellow? No, that's the TV. That's not who you are. And if we all understood this and we recognize every human came from the same place, the same source, with different TVs. But the idea is, if you understand who you are, then you get out of your program on your TV and you become the programmer of your TV. And this is what Jason and Taya's work is all about. Put you back in the driver's seat to give you the power to live free outside of the program that has enslaved you. And this is really critical because the only way out is to really know who you are. You're a spiritual entity in a virtual reality suit. It was funny because, look, I didn't believe in spirituality. And the moment I understood the connection between the receptors and the field and the spirit, and all of a sudden I said, oh my God, I'm a spiritual entity. How long was that? It didn't take a lot of devotion, maybe 30 seconds, because all of a sudden it was a mechanism. I am a virtual reality suit. I receive signals from source and I send signals back. I say, send signals back? I go, yeah. I could read your brain activity called electroencephalograph, EEG. There's another device that reads brain activity, reads the same activity, but it's called MEG, magnetoencephalograph. I go, what's unique? The probe is out here. Stop for 1 second. What does this mean? Your thoughts are not contained in your head. They're broadcast back into the environment, back to source. You came here to create. You came here to experience. You bought a program. Are you creating your life? No, you are creating your program. You want your life? Get out of the damn program. And then you are free to manifest a life. Aging, program, my friend, because you can change all that. And if you really want to understand more, this is not the first Jason and Taya episode. They have lots of them. Go back, review, because each of the episodes is a key to your self-empowerment. And self-empowerment is freedom.
That's beautiful, Bruce. For people out there too, we we did a beautiful series a couple years back, called Know Thyself. And we interviewed some of our favorite guests. And these were people like Dr. Todd Ovokadis and Dr. Amma Goswami and Valentino Onosor and RJ Spina and a bunch of different people. And what we recently did is we actually took that, the whole thing was around asking them to basically pose questions that would help a return to who we truly are. That was the essence of it. And we've actually turned that into a free course for people. So go to Inspirelife.earth and you can go and watch that course for free. Take it through. The whole idea is that you start to operate from a place of inner authority as opposed to a place of outer authority.
It's a 10-week course.
Yeah, and I think, and it's completely free. You can go and sign up and start it. But I feel like that is at the heart of what you're even saying, Bruce, with all of this, is like if we can start to operate from that place of really knowing who we are and then bring that into the world, that's where everything changes, because then we start to operate different. We question things differently. We perceive the world differently. And then we ultimately show up in the world and our actions are going to be in a different place. That's what's going to create this new reality that we're all wanting. So
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm not the only one doing this, living outside of that box. And all the ones, of course, I start to run into those other people. We have a community of what? We all are not living in that box.
Mhm.
And yet we're all living and we're all out here and we're expressing what we want. And the joy of living a life outside of that damn control is hard to explain to people. It is like, oh my God, free. I am free. And that was the whole point. Are you free? And the answer is not if you're afraid, because the moment you're afraid, that means you've given up power, because fear means you are vulnerable and powerless. And you have to, it's a hard thing. It's, you have to walk out of the system. I did that. I had tenure at a university. I could have had a job for a lifetime. That was what tenure meant. You are hired for life. But at some point, I realized the job was killing me in some sense, because it took away my power, and my consciousness was controlled by that job until I stepped out. And once I stepped out, I have this whole other thing going. And this is why I'm saying a lot of people who've stepped out of the system started to create a life that actually honored who they are, gave them health. Why? Living in harmony with your system.
Mhm.
That was where the health came from. It's the disharmony where the disease comes from.
And the level of creativity then that you are able to tap into as a result of that stepping out of that controlling system is unparalleled. And it's these conversations that are truly nourishing us and inspiring us in completely new ways, because it is creative that cannot be even grasped when you are within the control system.
You can't see it. That's why my story of Bill, you say, Bill, hey, you're just like your dad. He goes, hey, I'm not like my dad. I'm not my dad. I'm not like my dad. But everybody else can see he is.
Mm.
I say, why can't Bill see it? Because when does he play dad's program? It's when he's not paying attention. And all of a sudden, dad's program is what the people see. They respond to that. He's totally unaware that he even just said that stuff. And the idea is, that's why I said we're all Bill. We're all living in our head. And the moment we're living in our head, then our life is controlled by the program, which we downloaded from other people. So are you living your life? I say 5%. 95%, that's the program. What can you do? Well, we mentioned it. Rewrite the program.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, then your power is restored. Because if you just bought the program, cancer is a program. Heart disease is a program. All these others, these are programs. And you can change that, because if you recognize the program, then you can change the program. And it's interesting, because I said, we all were programmed for 7 years. I go, but you don't know the program. I go, what do you mean I don't know? I was programmed. I go, no, you don't know, because I would say, you were being programmed 3 months before you were born. What program did you get when you were in the womb? Oh, I don't know. Hey, you were programmed a whole year from 0 to 1. What programs did you get when you were 0? Well, I don't know. Okay, another whole year. You were programmed from 1 to 2. Tell me the program you downloaded when you were 1.5. I don't know. And all of a sudden I start to realize you don't know your programming. Why? It happened before consciousness kicked in. So then all of a sudden you're stuck and you say, well, my life is on program, but I don't know the program. I go, 95% of your life is the program. Your life is a printout of your program. I go, you want to understand your program? The things you like that come into your life, they come in because you have a program to acknowledge those things. But the things you wish for and desire, health, better job, relationship, something like that. And I'm looking for this and I'm struggling and I'm working hard. I'm sweating over it. I'm putting a lot of effort in to make it happen. Why are you working so hard for those things? And the answer is simple. Your program doesn't support that destination. You already, now what's my program? I'm looking for a relationship. I can't find it. Guess what? Your program for relationships suck. Mine did. And I go, what does it mean? Unless I change the program, I would never find a relationship or repeat the same pattern of why people get married, divorced, marry somebody else, different color hair, same person, divorce again. And I go, they don't see their own participation. We don't see our own participation. We observe the others and criticize them, but we never see our own behavior, which is like when you look back on it, it goes, ooh, not that good, folks. But the idea is, if you're struggling with something, it's not because you can't have it. If you're struggling with something, it's because your program doesn't support that destination. And if you change the program, you can have what you couldn't get before. And that's the secret.
Beautiful.
Bruce, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and spending your time and your wisdom with us. Where is the best place for people to learn more about the work you're doing? And also, guys, if you haven't checked it out, you got to check out this book. It really is a roadmap to a lot of what Bruce is talking about.
Yeah, it's so simple. BruceLipton.com. Everything we've talked about. I have written articles, I have podcasts, I have Zoom kind of programs, interviews and stuff like that. All kinds of data, downloadable, free. It's on the website. You know, how to change the belief system. There's information how to do that as well, and where to go and what to do and stuff like that. So it's a resource. And I hope people use it because the resource is, if you become empowered and you create heaven on earth, I'm going to be in that same picture, because then together we'll both share heaven on earth. And the more people who share it, the more the reality comes. Don't wait to die before you experience your life, man. You experience it now, because when you're dead, you'll just have a memory of what you did here. And the idea is, if you wait till I'm going to be in heaven when I'm dead, and I don't care about what happened here. I say, well, when you get dead and all you're going to have is a memory of what happened here, you're not going to be very satisfied with how it turned out. I think the only way to know you're successful is when you have your last breath, you go, that was great. Thank you. I love that life. And then you'll come back again, try it again later with a different TV.
Yeah. Bruce, what an absolute pleasure. I want to thank you so much from the bottom of our heart.
I want to thank you both for letting me talk my stuff to your wonderful audience. And again, it's the audience that you have generated, the audience that is saying, yeah, it's not working. I need something different. And knowledge is power. And so you empower people. And there's no better job on this world than to empower others. Because when they make their world better, you just get the spin-off of that.